The ground shook before the sound arrived. Windows shattered over 30 miles away. People thought it was the end of the world, but it wasn't war, not yet. A fire, a spark, and a moment that ripped through history. The blast was so powerful, it vaporized steel and turned night into day. But this wasn't a nuclear bomb. No, this was something even more terrifying. A human-made explosion so vast, it rewrote the science of destruction, and the world would never be the same again. One, the Halifax explosion, 1917. The day the city vanished. It was a cold December morning in Nova Scotia when two ships crossed paths, one carrying tons of TNT and high explosives. Within seconds, the city of Halifax became a firestorm. The blast flattened 1,600 homes and killed over 2,000 people instantly. Eyewitnesses saw ships lifted from the sea, hurled onto land. The shockwave shattered glass 50 miles away. It was the largest man-made explosion before Hiroshima. But what if the collision never happened? This tragedy would mark the dawn of a new era in explosive science. 2. Operation Sailor Hat, 1965, when the U.S. tested the impossible. In a remote Pacific island, the U.S. Navy stacked 500 tons of TNT near the shore. The goal? To simulate the shock of a nuclear detonation without radiation. The result was a fireball that tore across the ocean, flattening steel structures and vaporizing coral. Observers miles away described the air as alive and vibrating. Ships nearby trembled like toys on water. The Navy learned how to protect vessels from atomic blasts. But what if one miscalculation had gone wrong? That test could have erased the island completely. 3. The Texas City Disaster, 1947, America's Forgotten Apocalypse. A quiet morning at the port of Texas City turned into America's deadliest industrial disaster. A French ship carrying ammonium nitrate caught fire. Firefighters thought they could control it until the ship exploded. The blast unleashed 2,000 tons of explosive power, shaking the Gulf Coast. Cars melted, and planes miles away were knocked off course. Nearly 600 lives were lost in seconds. But what was more haunting? It could have been prevented by a single safety warning. 4. The Port Chicago explosion, 1944. Mystery on the Bay. In California's San Francisco Bay, sailors were loading munitions for World War II. At 10:18 p.m., 2 cargo ships vanished in a blinding flash. 320 men died, mostly young African-American sailors. The blast measured nearly 2,000 tons of TNT. The explosion was so powerful, it was felt 50 miles away. But soon came silence and censorship. Why was the truth hidden for decades? Many believed this was a cover-up tied to racial injustice in wartime America. 5. Beirut explosion 2020, the modern-day hellfire. A warehouse filled with 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate sat in Lebanon's capital. Then, one summer afternoon, it detonated. The shockwave tore through the city, killing hundreds and injuring thousands. Buildings crumbled, cars flipped, and glass rained across Beirut. It was one of the loudest sounds ever recorded on Earth. People thought it was a nuclear strike, but it wasn't war, it was negligence. A reminder that human error can rival a bomb's fury. 6. Minor scale test, 1985, the largest controlled blast on U.S. soil. Deep in the Nevada desert, scientists built a mountain of explosives for the 800 tons of Infv. When it ignited, the fireball rose like a miniature sun. The goal? Simulate a nuclear explosion to test missile silos. Observers described a wall of sound that cracked the earth. It was bigger than many small nuclear bombs. Dust clouds lingered for hours. What secrets did this test reveal about Cold War defense? It proved that even non-nuclear could look apocalyptic. 7. The Buncefield Blast, 2005. Britain's wake-up call. A fuel depot near London erupted after a vapor cloud ignited. The fireball reached 200 meters high, lighting the sky like dawn. Over 40 buildings were destroyed instantly. The explosion was heard in France. No one died, a miracle of timing. But the investigation revealed shocking safety failures. Could such a blast happen again today? Experts say yes, and perhaps even worse. 8 Heligoland explosion, 1947. The British island erased. After World War II, the British detonated 6,700 tons of explosives on the German island of Heligoland. They wanted to destroy leftover Nazi bunkers. Instead, they almost erased the island itself. The explosion sent debris miles into the air. Fishermen saw the sea lift like a living creature. It became the largest single non-nuclear detonation in history. But the island survived barely. Today, Heligoland stands as a scar of history's wrath. 9. The Pepcon disaster, 1988. Fire in the desert. In Nevada, a rocket fuel plant caught fire. Minutes later, it exploded again and again. Windows shattered 10 miles away, and shock waves rocked Las Vegas. The explosions measured up to 1 kiloton of TNT. Cars were thrown like paper, buildings flattened. Miraculously, most workers escaped. Could you imagine witnessing that fireball rising from your city? This was chaos and survival intertwined. 10 Chernobyl's non-nuclear blast, 1986, the reactor's death cry. Though known for radiation, Chernobyl began with a massive explosion, not a nuclear one. Steam pressure tore the reactor apart, launching 1,000-ton plates into the sky. It was pure physics, not fission. The shock wave echoed through the Ukrainian night. Flames of radioactive graphite lit the horizon. Was it nature or human pride that caused it? The world learned the cost of playing God with power, and the earth still remembers. 11. The Mount St. Helens eruption, 1980, nature's own explosion. Though natural, it matched a megaton blast in force. Ash rose 15 miles high as the mountain's north face collapsed. Trees were flattened across 230 square miles. The roar was heard in Canada. Scientists compared it to several atomic bombs combined. Could humans ever replicate that power? The Earth had answered, and it said no. But mankind would still try. 12. The Russian ammo depot explosion, 2019. Fire from the forest in Siberia. A munitions depot caught fire. Moments later, chaos. Shells rained for miles, and fireballs lit up the taiga. People fled as shockwaves shattered towns. The scale? Over 40,000 tons of ammo ignited. It was a modern echo of ancient destruction. Can safety ever be guaranteed around fire and war? Russia learned that day, nothing is truly safe. 13. The Flixborough explosion, 1974, when science misfired. A small leak at a chemical plant became a monstrous blast. It destroyed an entire village. The explosion released the power of 15 tons of TNT. Steel beams twisted like paper. Windows shattered 25 miles away. The cause? A temporary pipe, badly designed. How fragile is modern industry, really? This was the day chemistry turned into catastrophe. 14. The Tianjin port blast, 2015. Fireworks to fury. What began as a simple warehouse fire turned into apocalypse. 1,000 containers of chemicals detonated in sequence. The explosions lit the night sky like a supernova. Hundreds died and the city was left in ruins. The second blast alone equaled 450 tons of TNT. Footage went viral shockwaves, visible through the air. What happens when progress meets negligence? This was humanity's latest warning. 15. The Deepwater Horizon, 2010. The ocean burns. A massive oil rig explosion in the Gulf of Mexico changed history. 11 workers died instantly, and millions of gallons of oil poured into the sea. The explosion ignited the ocean itself. Flames danced over black waves. It became the worst environmental disaster in U.S. history. What's more terrifying, the explosion or the aftermath? The sea burned for days, and the planet mourned. And with that, the story of man's most destructive creations comes full circle. Fire, greed, and consequence written in smoke. Explosions remind us power is never without price. Each blast, from Halifax to Tianjin, echoes our endless chase for control. But what if one mistake, one spark, could change everything again? Would we learn, or would history repeat itself? These were not wars, but warnings carved into the earth. So which of these explosions shocked you the most? Comment below and join us as we uncover more stories the world tried to forget. Subscribe now because history still burns beneath the surface.